Good morning, Angelica. Good morning, Angelica. Good evening to, good day, good morning, good evening to all of you.
Wisconsin. Nice. Virginia.
Virginia,
All
Michigan.
right. So far, all US time zones.
Great. Okay. So maybe wait for one more minute. And people are coming. Okay. But anyhow, Angelica, I suggest we start. And I want, first of all, to thank several teams who prepared this platform and will accompany us. Thank you very much for Innovibe team. They are holding our summer school and preparing Adria HEARTS Summit. Thank you very much for Adria HEARTS Summit team for supporting this idea. And now, actually, let us start from idea. So, hi, Marco.
Hey, Doman, everyone.
By the way, thank you very much for software Shameeah and company Shameeah and Marco Ruggeri for supporting this project. It's very symbolic that Marco switched on his video right now. Okay, so Angelica, I think that we will start from history, short history. Okay.
Would a short history?
Yeah. It was a very short telephone call. Angelica called me and said we have to do something, but it happened after some accident. We met in a Quintessence forum, and four of us who are initiators of this project, Angelica Lemke from United States, and Roland Guenther, who will come in a few minutes from Canada, and Andreas Berndal from Norway. We'll see him probably next time. And myself, we participate in our regular Quintessence forum meeting. And the question was, why? Why is humanity is suffering right now? Why there are so many wars? And what we can do as a homeopath. Do you remember that evening, Angelica?
Yes, I'm sure we're going to address it a little bit in our presentation, but why don't you share your perspective on it as we're waiting for Roland?
Sorry, didn't hear it.
Can you hear me, my sound?
Yeah, it's something,
It's not strong.
now it's okay. Roland will come in a few minutes. So that's why I asked you, do you remember that call when you called me at evening and said that it probably, the energy of Petroleum Crudum is what we are going to explore, to investigate, to make maybe approvings. And the reason is that at that evening, we decided that that's what we have to do as a profession, because till now we don't have even one published, checked, approved homeopathic proving from Petroleum Crudum. We have petroleum, but it's not Petroleum Crudum. It's not remedy from oil crude. And then this project started, and Angelica called Roland. Mystery. I say Roland, and Roland appears. And we had a short call. And since then, in history, because it was only 3 months ago, but during these 3 very intensive months, so many things happened. And this intensity this deep processes actually are started. We decided to arrange a series of petroleum crudum provings by different methods in different countries, in different regions, with different petroleum crudum samples. And today I'm very happy that we start from first method which will be explored during our journey. And this method is called Shameeah. In few minutes, Roland will start his presentation. We start today the series of webinars. It will be 4 webinars. The plan of webinars you will receive later by emails, and you can read it on our website. We are preparing ourselves for very interesting, unique journey. We called it Alchemic Homeopathic Journey. And the culmination of this journey, we believe, will take place in Croatia from 2nd to 8th of October this year, where we will meet as a homeopathic alchemic tribe, and we do their things all together. And that journey will consist from actually 4 parts, and Roland will take from now. Roland, good morning, good evening. Thank you for coming, and please, mic is yours.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you so much, Roman, for the introduction, and it's wonderful, Angelica, to have you here, because you also will bring some of your experience with triturations. We will. Why do we do that? Let me first say just a few words about the crude oil. It started with the crude oil. With the crude oil for years, for 10 years, I tried to get something going, a workshop or something that we deal with the crude oil. We deal with all these many years where we used it as the main fuel for our economy, and nobody was interested in it. I said, there's so much damage done. We need to have a remedy that's made of that. And just for the homeopaths here, petroleum, what is not the oil we use. Petroleum, we don't even know exactly what it is. Yeah, Hahnemann introduced that it's some mineral oil, but we don't know the origin. So it's not that substance. Yeah, it's petroleum crudum. It's what's digged up in all over the world and used as fuel. And when we use a substance in such amount as fuel, it's going to affect us. And it's going to affect us without knowing it. Yeah, that's the problem. Anyways, so this is the reason that we need to explore this, that we need to have a remedy, and that we need to understand the qualities of the substance better. And that we also, in the end, we also need to touch the core of it, because it's part of creation. Everything that God created has a sacred core. And when we touch the sacred core, things turn around. And with all the damage the crude oil has done to the world, environmental, political, socially, health-wise, and so on, we really need this place where we can turn things around, and where Grandmother Earth tells us what she wanted us to learn from using that. And this is a question that has not been answered and we have not explored. Usually we stand in front of Grandmother Earth and tell her what we want. And then we try to get control over her or something. This is like miner in front of the mountain. Yeah, I want the silver and gold is there, and I don't care what I do. Yeah, there's no please and no thank you, no relationship. But we need to bring a healing relationship into that whole system, because we get hurt and wounded in relationship, and we heal in appropriate relationships. And so it's also between us and earth, where this relationship is deeply wounded, and we heal not with better ideas, but re-establishing the relationship and then listening to her. And this is what we're going to do. And I want to tell you a little bit about, let me share my screen now. Share. Okay, I hope you see that. You see that?
Yes.
Good. Okay, let me. No, moment. That's it. I hope that works now. Okay, that was all the consequences of the crude oil. One of the tools to get to this information that's needed to create a transformation, to turn the damage around into a gift at some point in the future, is Shameeah. And Shameeah is a ceremony. It's a sacred ceremony. It's not a method. Yeah, it's not a tool to squeeze out knowledge from earth. Yeah, it's a way to respectfully come into relationship with earth again. She talks through us, through every plant, every mineral, every animal is a representation of an aspect, and because of this, all is creation, is God's creation. This is all. This earth is a manifestation of divine law, and we got to bow down to her. The Tao Te Ching says it so beautifully: man follows earth, earth follows the universe, universe follows the Tao, and the Tao is God. Yeah. So this is the hierarchy that we need to put ourselves in. Our direct teacher is earth in a spiritual way. And we got to respect her and not constantly just stand in front of her telling what we want and how we want to get control over her. It needs a total shift in that. So when this pyramid, you see, if you want to go into the sanctuary, if you want to touch the sacred core, the first thing, you got to get your body there physically. Second thing, you got to go up these long stairs that are lead to the entrance of the sanctuary. This is the emotional level. We get probably pissed off that it's hot and effortful and whatever. Yep. Or wished we would be somewhere else. Yeah. So there's a certain emotional process. Then we land in front of the door, almost on top, and look back. This is when we touch the mental level of the process, and when we can look back to what we went through so far on the physical and emotional, which is always more or less painful, and then we can ask, knock at the door, and humbly and respectfully, and ask if we have access to the sanctuary. And this is what happens in Shameeah, and it doesn't matter what we deal with, it's all the same. So there's an aspect of homeopathy. That technique comes from homeopathy. The energetics not. But the technique is part of preparing a homeopathic remedy that starts out with grinding. With the trituration, that's where we have mortar and pestle and grind away, and then follows potentizing. The potentizing is what we could open up in the triturating part. It's like we open up the closed book of nature and start opening it, and what we found that gets in the potentizing part of making a remedy made into a higher vibrations, the information. There's not more information added or hidden in there. It's just what we could open up in the trituration process gets activated into high vibrational frequencies, so it's more, it can permeate deeper when we use it as remedy. Two total different processes with total different energetics, but we call it both the making of a remedy. And in traditional homeopathy, Hahnemann told us to triturate to C3, and from C3 on is the potentizing process that goes with succussing and diluting. It's in alcohol or in water. But I don't want to go into these structural things. So the history of Shameeah, grinding down to triturate, is a Latin word that was then in the older pharmaceutical literature used, and it means to grind down into a fine powder. This have been healers doing for thousands of years. They sat with their mortar and pestle and grind down herbs or seeds, just like women for thousands of years ground down grains to make flour and stuff like that. It's an ancient process. When you do it once, your body will remember, and it will feel in a strange way familiar, as like something ancient is touched and resonating in our human history, which is written in our bodies. Then in pharmacology or pharmaceutical apothecaries, they used to trituration, the word trituration, as a way to make ointments and grind down substances to a fine powder. Then Hahnemann came around the 1800s and made it to the homeopathic trituration. Homeopathic trituration follows certain rules. Yeah, there's always it's 1 hour triturating. This 1 hour has 6 rounds. Each round has 6 minutes of grinding, 3 minutes, 4 minutes of scraping, and then the next round is coming. So 6 rounds make 1 hour. After 1 hour, we dilute it, get out the whole milk, sugar, and substance that we have in the bowl and in our mortar, and get new milk, sugar, and start in the second hour. And we do that 3 times, and then the powder resulting there. This is what Hahnemann taught, and we this is being used to make the homeopathic remedy via potentization. Then in the beginning, you might ask, when we do, we have in the bowl, there's 6 grams of milk sugar that we put in there step by step, not all in at once, and 1/100th of that amount of the original substance. This is 0.06 grams of the original substance. It's about 1 or 2 needles of a Douglas fir. And so it's a tiny amount. And you might ask, why so little? Well, because we gotta transform it into energy in order to reach higher energetic levels where it's not toxic or poisonous or the physical, but where it vibrates in a frequency that serves healing. And to transform matter into energy is a certain effort. When we make our bowl full of just Douglas fir or whatever we're dealing with, the amount of matter holds us down, and we will not reach or only in a very limited way be able to transform that into pure energy. The lactose that we put in the bowl is only the carrier substance. We don't get information of that when we do that, because it's so much, it stays physical. It does not occur in the energetic realm, in the frequency realm. It's just like when you have a music CD The carrier substance is the plastic of the CD. It's not the music. The music is what it carries. Yeah. In the same way, the lactose that carries later on the energy of the remedy. So in the early 90s, there was Hahnemann. Hahnemann thought of this process of triturating a remedy as a mechanic way of producing a remedy. That's it. And to reach the symptoms, he used the homeopathic proving later on of the substance. In the early 1990s, there was in Germany Witold Eller, a biology student who worked in the holidays in a pharmacy, and the pharmacist told him to go in the basement and to triturate a certain remedy that he did not get, but there was a homeopath that ordered this remedy, and it was not available in the in anywhere from any pharmacy. So Witold had to make that. He was there, put a little of this plant in mortar and pestle, and was sitting and grinding, and he was amazed. He said, I studied biology and botanics, but what I learned in these hours of preparing this remedy about the plant is way, way, way beyond what we learned at the university in biology. And from then he asked homeopaths, have you ever done that? Do you know what you have? This is an amazing journey into the energy of a plant or whatever. Homeopaths had no idea. When I, some 45 years ago, started out with homeopathy, we were given a mortar and pestle and a little bit of ink of the cuttlefish and lactose, grinding for 6 minutes, scraping for 3-4 minutes, and then we were told that's how it works, and it goes on for hours. Yeah, it was not understood that that this is really a journey of adventure into the hidden energetics of what's condensed, the energy that's condensed in the physical substance. So it was really him that started that, and then also experimenting. Well, Hahnemann said till C3, but what happens when we go higher? And when we go higher, something happens. We will talk in a moment. And he called it then, including the higher C levels beyond. C is just centum, Latin for 100, and it's just because we dilute step by step in the ratio of 1 to 100. That's where the C comes from, and the 1, 2, 3, 4 and higher. This is energetic vibrational levels. We will talk about that. To Witold's C4-Trituration, I added the what I learned in the years of working and living on a reservation and working with native people, and what I learned from native elders. And it's mainly a difference in attitude, and that this, what we do there, is not a technique and something. This is a sacred ceremony that we do, in which we give ourselves as our body, our emotions, our mind, and ask a substance of Grandmother Earth or a plant or an animal to express itself through us. Yeah? So we are the screen, and allow something else to arise in us and to speak through us. So, and that's what I called Shameeah. Why the roots of Shameeah are in the mechanics come from homeopathy. The energetics, and it's the energetics of transformation that we transform suffering into a gift, into a blessing, comes from alchemy. And what makes it Shameeah is the adding the deepest respect of knowing that this creation and the manifestation of divine laws, and that we touch in going into relationship with this creation, something very, very sacred essential. It's a path also to God. So, and so the C4-Trituration. Okay, yeah, I said that. I cannot pass that without honoring some of my main elders, the old herbalist Rufus Goodstrike and Morris Crow-Spreading Wings, my Sundance chief, that taught me over years just a lot and allowed me through many, many years of ceremony to become part of the native path of connecting with nature. I would not be who I am without them. And I just want to thank them and express my deepest respect for what they taught me and the gift that they offered me in this. From the word Shameeah, this is etymology. It's not just etymology, it's also content. Shameeah comes from, has to do with chemia and alchemy. It's actually origin of these words. Today we call it chemistry. In the Middle Ages, it was alchemy. It was the alchemists mainly worked on transforming lower metals into gold, lead into gold. In ancient, it came to the alchemists of Europe through ancient Greece, where it was chemia. And to the ancient Greeks, it came from ancient Arabia, from the Arabs, and there it was called Shameeah. And what Shameeah was back then it's the transformation of lower vibrating energies into higher vibrating energy. And this is exactly what we do. When I, some 20 and something years ago, came from Germany to Canada, and I introduced myself to senior homeopaths here, where I was working. And by the way, I said the most precious I have to offer to the world or to homeopathy is triturations. And not one of them knew really what that was. And I offered workshops, and they told me, Roland, after I think a year or two, one of the senior homeopaths here that I deeply respect said, Roland, nobody will come to your workshops. This word trituration sounds ugly and nobody knows what it is. And yes, it was not very attractive for homeopaths that were used to go to a weekend workshop and to learn about 180 lanthanides and lanthanide salts, to spend a whole weekend with one substance. That was just seemed not worth the while. And besides that, nobody knew it. And to triturate, the word sounds like a rattling, like the rattling of the mortar in the bowl, but it does not express the music and the magic of the process. So they told me, find another word for it. So I found Shameeah, and this is how I came to call this Shameeah on a very personal level. The ancient Arabs, they had it, this art came from ancient Egypt. And as the story goes in the mythology, and somebody admit whatever. As the story goes, from there it comes from Atlantis, and but this is mythology. But this is what I've been told also from once a medium that I saw, and she was totally entranced in somewhere else, and she, without us having talked about anything I did, she started talking in a strange way, in a voice of a man, in an old-fashioned English language that I never heard before, about what I do and where it comes from. And there is this information about the history of that, going back to Atlantis, and that in the end times of Atlantis, there were people trying to recalibrate the natural grid system that was so out of whack and out of balance, desperately in order to save Atlantis, but the imbalance was too big and Atlantis went down. But these people are being reborn today and often find themselves, each other, to work again for this beautiful planet, this time not only Atlantis, not only a continent, but the whole planet that is in a similar crisis than it was back then. And practically, Shameeah is different from what was happening, what they did back then, but energetically, this is the roots where it comes from. And many of us were also driven by this love for nature, for the creation, and by this in our bones, somewhere in our collective consciousness, the memory of and the despair of seeing a beautiful continent of Atlantis to go down some 13,000 years ago, or when that was. I can't remember so good anymore. It's a long time ago. Anyways, so, and how it looks today. This is mortar and pestle. And yes, bring your mortar and pestle when you come to something like that. Every homeopath has it. That's the basic tools. And the rest will, the lactose and the substance and stuff, we will bring. And yeah, so it's simply done in the way, mechanical way, just as it's been done 200 years ago. And this is how it looks. This is a small group in Calgary. You see, it's always two people sharing one bowl. So in one round, one person triturates, and the other has time to write down what comes up in her or in him. So during that hour of trituration is silence. We can do whatever, just nothing that interrupts or affects or influences the inner journey of everybody else. And when people talk, which I also tried out, and it's not, in my experience, it's not working well, because they influence each other, and then they come together to some people that are more assertive and others are shy. But the shy people often have very, very important things to say, and so, and we don't want to. We want to have the experience of each and every one to come together, and not of the people that just have a better self-confidence and then start talking and anything. It's also important that everything is being held, is contained in our inner container. In the process, we might touch discomfort and wanting to go away, wanting to go, then I want to move away, but I stick with the discomfort. Yeah. Because that discomfort is the access point to go deeper. When I act it out, when I meet darkness and I should learn something in the darkness, but I don't like meeting the darkness, then I go in the light and do something. But this is not the place where it goes deeper. This is just where we lose energy and then in acting things out. But in order to go to touch the sacred core, we really have to go to all the discomfort on the physical and especially on the emotional level. And this can be, and the people that suffer the most, they also have in the end always the biggest gain. So there is a balance in that. This is not a feel-good enterprise. Okay. What's happening? Oh, the mechanics, I mentioned that. When we see here, and I start on the base below now, and C1 in the first hour, what we saw in hundreds and thousands of triturations is that we mainly resonate with our physical body. And it makes sense because we just put the physical substance into our mortar, is still vibrating close to the physical substance. In the second hour, after diluting it, second hour, it already vibrates a little bit higher. It's not only about me and my body, it's about me and something else. It's the quality of the number 2. Yeah, it's 1 + 1. And 1 + 1 means there's a relationship. And in relationship, there's emotions. And so on C2, we mainly react and experience emotional things. It can be memories. It can be feelings that come up, whatever. And in C3 is where we usually, you remember the picture of the pyramid that I showed, reach the upper top and can look back of what we went through without understanding much on the physical and emotional level, because there is not much in understanding. On these levels, we just have to go through. And then we have a little bit distance. We can use our mental abilities to reflect, and then we get a first glimpse of understanding what it is about that we get that we are doing. What does the substance talk about? What is the challenge for us here? So far, it was traditional homeopathy. Of course, just at least from a mechanical process. But in keeping doing that, we saw that in C4 and the fourth, then we touch the spiritual level. And in general, this is where we stop, where we end, because this is where we most of the time find the solution of the problem, and things turn around. And we realize, wow, going through this process, going through this trouble actually was a gift. And this is when you ever experience something like this, where the trouble transforms into a gift, it gives you such a confidence to deal with challenges in life, to deal with diseases, because you always know, yes, this is the lower vibrations, not in running away, not in fighting it. The homeopathic way is to bowing down and go through it all the way and to overcome it. It's not about battling. And this is a process that's quite relaxing, because healing is something that's part of every cell of creation. Everything, every plant, every animal, every human, every cell in our body wants to heal and knows to heal. Grandmother Earth, she knows how to heal. And so it's something that happens when we allow it. When we battle what's happening, when we effort, we are probably either dealing with distress, and that also has its place and its function and its importance sometimes, but we're not yet in the realm of healing. Healing happens mainly when we relax, when we don't want, but when we listen and allow the body and the wisdom of Grandmother Earth to walk through us. Higher levels exist, and for sure, when we deal with the crude oils, we need to go there. I don't know how high we will see. Like when a substance does not have a solution on the highest personal level, which is the C4, which is the spiritual, but when we touch in the fourth hour collective problems, this is when we need to go higher. For example, the problem of cancer, when it's not an individual problem, this is a problem of a society that grows like a cancer, that thinks everlasting growth is important and being in control is important. Yeah. As long as we send out this energy, it will come back and it will hit some of us many of us in our bodies, and with this body, in going through cancer, we balance a collective imbalance. So when we deal with things like that, we need a higher level than C4. And in the crude oil, I'm pretty confident that we will need to go higher, but we will see. So that is a little bit, purpose of Shameeah is about expansion of consciousness, understanding more, and the main thing for me is reconnection to the natural world. The word religion comes from religare, means tying a new bond in Latin. So tying a new bond or retying a bond. This is here remembering that we are in an interdependent relationship with all of creation, with this physical creation. This is what we do. We do something like when you grind down a needle of a Douglas fir, you experience the Douglas fir in yourself from the lower levels when it's stiff and brittle and upright and rigid, and doesn't want to have change, to the higher levels where you can see what that is good for. And something from nature, of the outside nature, is represented in us, and we go through the whole process of experience the lower vibration level where it's painful, until we and to find the high vibration level where it's a gift for all life. Everything in nature has that. So it's also, I talked with a connection to Mother Earth, especially through the crude oil. Everything that she offers us, she also has a message. And I think so far we only used it for what we thought, but we never shut up to tell her what we want, in order to listen, to be quiet and to listen and to see, what does she want to tell us? What do we need to learn from that substance? Yeah? Because there is a higher wisdom in her, higher than us. And like I mentioned, the hierarchy that's so given clearly in the Tao Te Ching and Old Wisdom scriptures. Man follows earth, we follow her. It's not just we tell you what we want and we have the power and the oil to do that. That gives a total distortion of a relationship that's based on fear, and as a consequence of fear, this hunger for power and this desire to be in control, which is an avoidance of dealing with the fear, of integrating the fear. There's no healing there in being in control. Okay, it also gives the beautiful energetic understanding of a homeopathic remedy. It helps us to prepare a C4 remedy, and also it's a great training in perceiving subtle energies. This is just a few of the things. Let me say one word to the energetic understanding of a homeopathic remedy. When we do a proving, we take a remedy and we resonate with our whole being on all levels at the same time. Yeah, this can be, sometimes we can have, there's even healing symptoms that occur and sometimes we touch the higher energetic levels, and often we just experience symptoms on the physical, emotional level, or ideas on the mental level. And it can be difficult to understand what's going on there. For example, when you do a proving of cannabis, you're in bliss. You think that's it. Yeah. But it's the lowest. It's the toxicity. It's the lowest what cannabis has to offer. When we do a Shameeah, a trituration of cannabis, we have this bliss in C1. So we know it's a toxicity. It's not yet the solution. Yeah. So it does not mean C1 is always painful, but if it's not painful, then like it gets us into bliss or something. We know, oh, it's a drug. Yeah. These are things that we do not, we cannot tell apart, oh, that I'm so happy, this is a healing symptom. No, that's the toxicity. Yeah. But because all these things happen at the same time, and a proving is in general not energetically clearly structured, that is the advantage of Shameeah, of a C4-Trituration, to understand the inner dynamics. What is pathology and what is healing? The healing is never what we think should be the healing. When we go through the trouble, we always have our ideas how it should be. But this is not what Earth tells us. In order, we got to stop our ideas to think, oh, darkness, so I need light. No, there's a reason why we meet the darkness. There's something to learn in the darkness. Can I go there? Yeah. So these things are really important to go deep. Otherwise, we go through an escapism, like, you know, we talk about the history about the golden 20s. At least I don't know exactly how they looked here in North America. I'm from Europe. Yeah, but in Europe, people just wanted to get away from the war and all this pain and forget. And so they started celebrating and music and dancing and sex and blah, blah, blah. And it was just an escapism, not dealing with the pain. And the result was a few years later, there was another war. After this war, there was no slowing down and listening and digesting. It was okay, forget what was, forget the Holocaust, yeah, and forget the 11 millions being raped and killing themselves because of that, thousands, yeah. But and just let's rebuild again and be happy again. And you see the problems that arise out of this. The Holocaust keeps going somewhere else because we did not digest it, yeah. And so this is getting away is a symptom of a reaction. Hahnemann calls it the primary and the secondary reaction of the remedy, but it is not the healing. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to. We need provings. In provings, they have provings are wonderful. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Provings get more symptoms, and in order to prescribe, we need symptoms in homeopathy. Shameeah and C4-Triturations can have, when they are done skillfully, much more of an understanding on an energetic level of what's happening, but the proving does not have really this touching the sacred, that in the end you're in awe and you're quiet and calm, and you don't want to. I have experienced that hundreds of times. This, in the end, when people touch that sacred core, there's no acting it out. Everybody sits quietly and is in bliss. It's like when you experience the light in a meditation or something like that. You don't want to disturb that. You even don't want to speak. It's like being in church or in a sacred ceremony. So, effects. Having new remedies like here the buffalo, the milk of the buffalo, a great remedy that I mainly use also with indigenous peoples when I in treatment. I think it's super also for North America. Would be a great. It's an expansion of our understanding, like a remedy like placenta. That it has not only to do with the first landing of the soul in the physical body of a mother, but that it's also can be a healing for people that land later in life, for example, as immigrants and have troubles here. So a new understanding also of old remedy. Yeah, this is how a good landing can look like. The transformation, I talked about that, like that what seems to be a toad comes, in the end, becomes a prince. It's not only happening in fairy tales. This is our birthright, and we have it in every time in the healing. This is what we want and what we have the blessing to do and to practice. They also can be a spirit helper. I remember this beautiful a nurse that we were triturating the pygmy owl, the feather, and in Alberta. And so tiny, it's a handful of owls. Yeah, it looks like a toy. And owls, the ones I triturated, about 4 or 5, were all about somehow the transition at the end of life, the transition to the other side. Yeah, they talk about that. They teach us about that. And here it was one of the participants was a nurse that it was her daily job to deal with dying people. That was her job. She only went into homes of dying people and took care of them. And she had certain physical symptoms, a weird feeling around her knee in that trituration. And later on, she told me, I can call this owl for help now. And I feel it in my knee. I have this symptom, this physical symptom that I had during the Shameeah, during the trituration. And I know she's there. And this owl helps me to deal with the people dying and brings peace and help to that. So that's also a way supporting endangered species, something that I really would love to talk about. But species leaving right now do not only leave because we of the toxicity and destruction of the habitat and our fishing and logging and all of that stuff. They also leave because they are not seen in the gift what they are. And I was told again from the same medium that I mentioned before, that it's one of your purposes for being alive is to touch the essence of as many species as possible, because they will not leave. When you establish a deep heart-to-heart connection, when they know they are seen and they are appreciated, they have a reason to stay also in a time when it's so difficult as ours. So it's an enormous help on a spiritual level, also for all the species that are leaving. And for me, most important, the reconnection to Mother Earth. One example in the end, and that's the last I want to say. For example, the lion. It's one of my favorite stories. I have a very difficult connection to lions. I had years of nightmares of being followed by lions, having to run and to hide and to fight and all of that. And so when I did the Shameeah, the lower levels were all about either people felt like a bully and really I have the power, I am loud, I can do with you whatever I want, I'm boss here, yeah, or I felt like the victim of that. Oh, I have no chance, I just need to run away here, yeah. There's no way to coexist with this energy. But in the higher levels, when it's not anymore about the bully, then it was about leadership. The first was about leadership in a spiritual sense, creativity, where the roar of the lion was the word of God that created creation, yeah, like the way it says in the Bible, yeah. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. That is symbolically still today represented in the roar of the lion. When you speak with your lion voice, that doesn't mean you have to yell, but with the energy of your inner lion, the whole universe hears you, listens, and will react, will respond. So this is an enormous power to touch that. And on the yet higher levels, it was about leadership, a leadership that's not because they are the best boss and bully, but a leadership that because they a leader and a lion power connects a higher dream, connects a higher reality, a higher divine reality, and can bring a higher potential from there into our reality. Like Martin Luther King, he did not say, did not boss people around, but he said, I had a dream. So a leader on the higher levels of lion energy is somebody that bows down to a higher wisdom and channels that higher wisdom. Very different. Once I had and you might have heard it, the story, if you know me, it's just one of my favorite story. A little girl, 5-year-old girl that beat up everybody in kindergarten and so. And they brought it to me, and mom was desperate. Yeah, she's loud and bites and beats and throws sticks and stones at other kids. And I listened to the story of the pregnancy of the mom, and I said, okay, this is lion. I give her the milk of a lion, and I could tell, and I know that's going to work with a girl, and it did. It made her way more peaceful. And I could tell the mom, what she displays is only the raw material of somebody that has a potential to be a blessed healer later on. And we need women in leadership positions right now. So we got to help her to go through the lower levels. And if our remedy includes the higher levels, this is easier. So she comes to this connection with the sacred and to where her her power is not anymore a bullying power, but an integrated ability to lead. Okay, and with that, I want to stop share. Thank you so much, and I hope I did not overwhelm you with information and things, but it's something awesome, and I love it, and it's the yeah. There's one last thing. Since trituration went into the world, there were also all kinds of, there were people, the homeopaths, that didn't understand what it is, so they made trituration brewings out of them. Yes, you can do trituration and only want to have symptoms, and that's all. Yeah, when this is the intention, this is what comes out of it. This is like major homeopaths in the world do it like that, but they do not touch the sacred and the transformation in the whole thing. And so it really depends on where you come from and what you do, and on our intention. This energetic law, energy follows intention. Whatever our intention is, this will hugely influence the outcome. And if it's please don't. I don't mean that as a criticism. Provings have a worth. But for me to stand in front of the remedy and say, I want to know, I want to have your symptoms, and I do research on you, this is not so much better than standing in front of a mountain and mining it. Yeah. It's, for me, it's this attitude. No, I bow down and I'm here to listen. Yeah. And people that can be still and can be silent and are okay when there's nothing, they can receive. It's not the most creative people that are best in perceiving subtle energies. I had a good friend. I really love the guy, and I did many triturations with him, yeah, but he was uncomfortably silent. He was so creative. He produced stuff, but it never had much to do with the remedy. So it's not that if I'm here and I tell nature what's happening in my mind, nature does not yell at us. We got to slow down and shut up and say, okay, I'm here to listen. Yeah, that's something very different. Yeah. So I encourage you to get your bowls. It's just really fun and it's a great experience. In the end, at least, yeah. And yes, it's just life. Not all the gifts of life are wrapped up like a Christmas gift with a golden bow, yeah. Often they come in pretty shitty disguise, and this is exactly what we do in Shameeah. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I could touch you a little bit with my passion for this work.
Roland, thank you very, very much. And, about this passion, please, with your passion, answer question in the chat. Are we inviting suffering in a way?
Yes, we invite suffering, not because we are masochists, yeah, but suffering is there in the world and we don't get away from it when we run the other way, don't want to see it. This is a drug path, yeah. We go through it when we integrate it, and integrate it means I go through it and I reach a higher place where I overcome it, but it goes through the suffering. It's really, in homeopathy, we give the remedy that creates the problem. We also say yes to the problem. We do give to a child with fever belladonna and say, I'm with you in this fever. You're not alone. And I give you a plant that knows about that fever. Yeah. And this is what heals. We do not give, go the other way, we need Tylenol here, yeah, or something. That's not homeopathy. Homeopathy is is saying yes to what is the total acceptance of what is. Yes, and suffering is part of life. There is just no other way, and as homeopaths, this is what we made our life to deal with that. But the more we go through in ceremony, we can, within a few days, we can go through something like that. And it gives us this confidence. I know you go through something that in the end will be a gift. Today we have it also in modern trauma research. They talk about the post-traumatic growth. Not only that the trauma is something terrible, it shouldn't happen. That's not the case. Yeah, but it does happen. And we are not looking for it. It happens by itself, yeah. And it in the end, when it's integrated, there's this post-traumatic growth. It's a gift.
Roland, and thank you very much. And before Angelica will take over from this point, may I ask you to explain few words about what we are expecting in Croatia, why we are gathering there, and what will be your part in this journey?
Croatia, the main part of 3 parts. This is something for me to, so far in the past, I only did one substance and that's it, then we digest that. Yeah, I'm a minimalist. This is first time that because I cooperate with other people that I'm part of a different setting. And well, even an old guy like me has sometimes to learn something new. And so what we do is we first want to deal with the past. In the physical, our body is a result of the past. And what makes us sick is all the stuff that's undigested from the past. That goes from the energetic, where it could not be digested, where it was overwhelming, where it was traumatizing. The body carries the memory. And in the end, after when it's long enough, the body will express it also symbolically as disease. So what we deal with is undigested past. And this is not that we deal with it. When we heal it, this past becomes integrated past, and integrated past is presence. I'm present. And when I'm present, out of this presence, arises a future that is a higher potential. That's not an extension just of yesterday. I will keep doing the same thing tomorrow. There was a genocide yesterday, and then we're bound through karma to repeat it over and over again. But when tomorrow is a higher potential, a higher energetic, a higher spiritual potential, it's connecting the light, it's bringing the light, it's bringing the divine blessing into the digested past, and the digested past will be the fertile soil where the future can land. So the first part, one of the things that holds us back globally is the trauma of crude oil. If we do not transform that, it will hold us back. We will have new technologies, and we will repeat the same mistakes that we did when we had the oil. Yeah, we will when our attitude doesn't change. Yeah, the technology alone is not a savior. We need new technologies, but we also need to learn out of what we went through so far. And this is the purpose of the first part that I will facilitate, dealing with the crude oil. It's it's a sticky substance, we're all sitting in it, and it will take a little bit of dedication to go into that and to work our way through, but it's possible. Then we will, when we have onboarded that, in itself, there will be an opening to a future because, yes, like I said, there's a higher potential hidden in it. That's the sacred blessing that God put in everything that he or she created. And we will go after, in Croatia, after the dealing with the crude oil, after onboarding an aspect, a major aspect of past that holds us back in the past. We will deal with a dolphin, either with a proving or with a trituration. And the dolphin has really an amazing ability of subtle communication. Because in order to listen, we gotta enhance our communication skills. And the dolphin also has two extremes. There's this funny laughing tra-la-la, and there's the deep depression. If the dolphin would not have that, they would not come to people, autistic kids, and to people that are deeply, deeply depressed. But they have a resonance. They know that. Because they, as creatures that were living also back in the times of Atlantis, they carry the old sadness. So, and when I did dolphin triturations, I did it several times because I think dolphin is a blessing for the whole world, and everybody should go through that. The groups were always split in two that hardly could understand each other. The ones that were just tra-la-la and enjoy and happy and playful, yeah, and the other ones that said, no, that's not it. That's not it. There's something way deeper. And to bring the two together, that it's not two in the end, yeah, that it's not a polarity, but something where we can touch in the dolphin a bliss, a joy that includes the sadness. That's not opposite to the sadness. Yeah, it's like the divine light that includes the darkness. It's not the opposite. Here in our day and night, in our polarity, it's an opposite, but not in the higher levels. So this is the second step that we're going to do in Croatia, to make to train our ability to hold this big polar tension, and to train our ability to deal with and communicate with subtle energies, because we need that. So then we have onboarded the past. We have also made our present to the airport on which the planes of the past and of the future can land, and they came together where we are. And now Andreas Bjørndal from Norway will take over, and I don't know exactly what he will do, but he will guide us through a process of connecting the future. That is totally important. Like in native people, they go on the mountain for a vision quest in order to know what they are called to do. And their vision is who they will be in the future and what they are supposed to do in the future, what they are called to do. And they bring that as a gift to their people. And so, when you go sailing, you need a goal. You need to go. It's not enough to deal with the past and to anchor up, yeah, and let go of the landlines. It's also you need to know where you want to go, yeah. So we need the visionaries, the people that download the future, that connect to a higher potential and are able to bring that down. When we onboarded the past, then we're open to do that. And this is the process Andreas Bjørndal will lead us in. And this is the whole process of our week in Croatia. It will be decorated and here and there with a few other fun things, yeah. But this is the inner connection between the things that we will do. As such, we can take away that in the end, homeopathy is a modality, a healing modality, and we start with learning remedies and how to use them. When we walk homeopathy as a spiritual path, then it's about becoming remedy, not only having remedies. And in every trituration and every proving, there we make a remedy alive in us. We transform it into the blessing, into the gift. And the more we do that, and the more we dedicated to this was, the more we are a walking remedy wherever we are. Just because we incorporate these healing principles. And everybody of you, you all are a part of the healing system of Earth. We are all, each one of us is a cell in the self-healing system of this planet. Yeah. And that's why we need to listen to the bigger organism that connects us all and that we bow down to in order that our individual healing work makes sense, also in the bigger context. This is what we want to go through and in Croatia.
Thank you very much, Roland. And if our participants have some questions, please write down in the chat. Now we will
Write down or contact me or whatever. Yeah. I love your questions.
Now we go for Angelica part. I want to tell you that it was some misunderstanding, maybe mistakes, and what we deal with is proving of petroleum crudum. All of us who started all this project, we experience right now. So it's interesting to see it like a symptom of the proving. For example, Angelica's main lecture will be at 14th of September at the fourth webinar. But in the beginning, it was mixed up, and it is not a topic was wrote in a draft. But Angelica has to say something. So in addition to what we have heard from Roland, Angelica, please.
Okay, so Roland, thank you. And just for all of you who are listening, just want to have a moment where we can take a deep breath. Because triturations, if you can, if you're here today, maybe it's a calling. And I'd like to start first with asking you to connect inward to your heart and your body with just a deep breath in and out, and just getting out of our heads and getting out of the information. Not that it's a bad thing, but the process of triturations for me has been a place of emptying. It's not a place of headiness. It's a place of receiving. And just asking yourself, is this a calling for me as a homeopath, as an immune cell of the earth right now? How is she calling me? How is the earth? How are substances calling to me? And just take a deep breath in and out and connect to your heart. Connect to your journey as a homeopath and a healer. And ask if this is a next stage for you, or if there is a tool here that will assist you in this transformational journey. And this journey begins with a prayer of sacred intention to heal and be a part of a larger fabric of healing. We can't do this alone, not anymore. We're being called to come together. And through this process of being in a group and letting energies move through us, we allow ourselves to become this beautifully soulful landscape, a lens that is multidimensional to witness and to transcend, to evolve, to bring consciousness to the fields that are stuck, fields that need attention. So just bringing that prayerful awareness of an earth that is asking for us to listen, to converse, to be present. So that is really the center for me. And you can open your eyes now. And if for you feel that, you feel resonant with that, I'm going to just share with you some photos and experiences of triturations I've been a part of. And maybe it will trigger something in you to say, okay, this could be something I could explore. So here, I really want to acknowledge the lineage holders of trituration. As Roland said, this comes from Hahnemann. And then there was a revival of trituration in the early 90s. Witold Erler in Germany was Roland's teacher, I know. And so just really honoring you, Roland, for holding that through the timeline of people wanting to teach the lanthanides and learn about the lanthanides while you were also saying, let's experience this dialogue with matter. It's a dialogue with matter where we go through the layers together. I want to acknowledge also the Trituration Handbook, which really brought this out to more people. Annika Hoagland and Judy Schreibman. This is a really simple book. So if you're going to participate in triturations, it's a nice little guide. I'd probably get on Amazon. And some of my teachers, Elise Timmerman, Rita Pojonen, Janie Lavelle, Kate Birch, Paul Anderson Tirio, Mikhail Yakir, Sarah Valentini, colleagues of mine who've all stepped into this journey. It's kind of like, we're in practice and sometimes we're solo and we're having this direct engagement with our clients. And it sometimes feels like, what's the next step of working beyond the individual, of working just with each individual? I worked with special needs kids for so long in so many cases. Okay, what's next? How do we work on the collective? Super sweet that Kim is here. Kim participated in some collective healings with me where we channeled autism, we channeled pandas, and we channeled what is it at the core that needs healing in these subsets of children. So I really want to honor people who have stepped into these spaces, stepped into kind of the unknown and the mystery of what a proving and a trituration space is. To me, this is the opposite of sometimes the heady, over-intellectual, sometimes over-ego energy that's in homeopathy. It's really a mediumship, a kind of emptying where we're in communication, we're allowing the earth to speak or a substance to speak. So I really feel that this is a movement that's bringing fresh energy into the world of homeopathy. It's maybe even parallel to classical homeopathy in how it's developing as its own movement. So here I am doing, opening up a ceremonial trituration with Reta on the Bali lotus in Bali. I just want to recognize that when I look at these pictures, they're almost all women. And I don't know what, Roland, your experience was. But this has been my experience thus far, has been groups of maybe 10 to 20 people where 1 to 2 of them are men. I'm trying to kind of create groups that have more men in them, but something that it comes very naturally to us in women, which is opening up in a receptive way to let energy move, has been attractive to the groups that I've been a part of. And as Roland says, we digest the energy, we digest the suffering. And this is something that as women, we're kind of constantly doing, even unconsciously, even when we have our cycles, when we're waking up in the morning and there's energy moving through us, our body is digesting that. So we're doing it intentionally. And what comes up, and I wanted to share with some of these photos, were some of the energies that arise. There was a spontaneous dance party when we did the proving of honey. just last month at my house. I mean, it was incredible. We had the music and everyone was laughing and dancing. And then the flip side, everyone started crying. This was Bali Lotus, like, there was a lot of energy to move. So this is a response that we are having by the collective, by the earth, to have this direct communication for the times that we are in. And to recognize that this comes naturally to us, to process, to literally move the energy from one person to the next, and then to balance it out with its polarity, like Roland said with dolphins. Sometimes you have one energy show itself one way and another energy show itself in the polar opposite. This is Jess from Australia. She's a kind of a master constellator, and she's doing a constellation amidst our proving. And here we are all sitting in a big circle, moving the mortar and pestle around. So what are the gifts I've gotten from these triturations? It's interesting, Roland, that you mentioned Atlantis. I added this little note in. This is planetary grid work, I feel, because there's been a calling to certain places through the triturations I've participated in. These are power centers often. And we're not just connecting with a substance, we're connecting with a location as well. We're connecting with the energetics of everything happening, the astrology of the moment, the weather of the moment, every synchronicity, everything. We're just tapping into that web and opening up. So I've gotten to go to some incredible places because of these small little triturations people are organizing. And so I've been like so honored to get to go to these places and experience not just a substance, but the place and its sacred qualities and what it's speaking. So yeah, I went to the south of France, Daintree, Bali. I'll speak to that a little bit. And incredible things happen. It's going to places, not just to be a tourist, but to really do something sacred, to actually participate in extreme synchronicity of saying, I'm going to really wake up to the field right now. I'm going to really expand my perspectives, expand my awareness, and see what happens. So strange synchronicities, wild dreams, crazy stories. I mean, like at the beginning of our Daintree provings, a snake almost fell directly on top of my friend Sarah's head. It was just crawled across the top of our ceiling and dropped. We've connected with the fairy devas, with nature beings, with shamans and holy people. So it's an embodied experience that connects us to source. I've experienced past life clearings, karmic clearings through these experiences, and really developed friendships that will last a lifetime, and embodied medicines that I will never forget. Like Roland said, becoming the medicine and becoming connected again to these places. So the first trituration that I participated in was in the south of France. And it was at the end of COVID when there was still a lot of COVID restrictions. And I, in the winter of the last year of COVID, I went dancing. I went to a dance class. I went to the dance class with a friend. She runs the goddess temple of Ashland. There's a goddess temple where I live. And as I was dancing, I internally heard a voice say, "Go to France." And I kept dancing. It was like someone had whispered it to me. It said, "Go to France." And I talked to my friend about it, who runs the goddess temple, and she's like, you do have to go to France. Like, absolutely go to France, because she goes to France and the UK for kind of goddess energy celebrations all of the time. And I thought, how am I supposed to go? Am I supposed to, I didn't have a COVID vaccine. So I'm like, how am I supposed to go? I don't have the ability to fly right now. And I kept hearing it. And then all these synchronicities happened where I was invited to a trituration being held by Elise Timmerman, who has a property in the south of France. And she had been doing triturations for years. She is definitely another lineage holder of this movement. And she's done triturations of all of these substances in this container here, if you can see me. A lot of energies that are feminine, of the divine feminine, matrodonals, also animals, whales, and she has done also intentional substances or intentions like the energies of imponderables, even the energy of like forgiveness, of Lemuria. So she was doing a proving of the Black Madonnas when I went, which are actual statues that are often found buried all throughout Europe of goddess statues that are Black. They're original Isis statues that were transformed into, as Christianity came and spread, they transformed the original goddess worship and Isis statues into Madonna statues. And it was profound, deep, and beautiful. We had proved also a mushroom. So we ended up going into deep timelines. I had and awoke through that so many lifetimes that were traumatic for me. It took me about 6 months to recover just afterwards, to unpack all that came up. I ended up meeting with Deb Collins on this trip as well. And it was really, really powerful. I am quite grateful for the experience. And we did invite the suffering, and there was an intense amount of energy moving through this proving. The year later, I was invited to Bali, which is my mother's lineage is Indonesian. So I was invited to Bali to be a part of a conference that was out of the box homeopathy. At this conference, we did a constellation for Hahnemann and the original founders of homeopathy. And we also did a trituration of the lotus of Bali. Bali is called the lotus of the planet. It sees itself as the spiritual cleansing center of the planet, which is why people are in constant prayer in Bali. Rita kind of led this. I want to shout out Rita, who just published a book, Shamanistic Remedies of the Arctic. She's been doing beautiful triturations of substances where she's from in Finland, including Arctic seawater, many owls and birds. It's incredible. And we had the most beautiful synchronicities. And I probably can't keep saying synchronicities, but it's a big part of the magic of provings and triturations, where we had this holy man show up at the beginning of the proving. And he handed us these flowers and did a ceremony for us. And what it felt like we learned ultimately from this was that homeopathy, starting from Hahnemann and that constellation we did, needs to come home to the indigenous, come home to the magic that has always been present on the planet. In Bali, they use water as medicine all of the time. It's not like homeopaths invented it. We didn't invent it. It's been around, right? In places, they write holy scriptures and put it on bodies. They pray, So the intention of substance is there, and to acknowledge that. Lotus itself, of course, was a very feminine energy that was very much about healing the womb space, healing trauma to the feminine, given that it's a very, very feminine flower. Also, I just want to mention Janie Laval, who works a lot with Rita, also with Elise. She's also about to produce a book on the trituration provings she's doing of the trees of the Celtic calendar, the Irish tree calendar. She's been doing amazing, amazing work with the trees. I'm not going to kind of go deep into the themes of all of these. I have little video links so I can share these slides so you can kind of go through, but the video links show the essence of what we did in each of these provings. The following year, which was last summer, we went back to Bali for a second time. And we entered into this very magical field again, and we connected. There was a huge banyan tree. And we found another Balinese holy man to do a ceremony with the banyan tree to connect us with it, because they see these trees as like really sacred and as part of their community that you cannot cut down, or you're going to get in trouble if you do. So this was such an essence of the collective, like come into my bounty of being in this energetic field together. Don't do this alone. We're in this as a community to transmute toxicity, to come together as community like they do in Bali. So this was a portal into kind of the Balinese energetics. That same year, I also went to the Daintree Rainforest, which is the oldest rainforest on the planet. It's actually part of what's called Gondwana, which is the original landmass of the earth. And Mikhail Yakir, who's this absolute genius fairy homeopath who's incredible. I love her. She is so called to, like Roland said, to acknowledge what isn't being seen, acknowledge these ancient plants and the role that they've played in our evolution, and to unlock the keys possibly to where we are suffering by connecting to plants that are still in union. They're very much in this sense and in these places that are very sacred and untouched, in union with wholeness. And so these were, we did one proving a day and did 5 total provings, which is a lot. It's intense to do 5 provings in a week. We did the very first vascular plant. So in that experience, we felt like I just want to collapse. I have no energy. And then it was just like a lot of effort to pull yourself and come out of the water. That's the essence of the first plant to come out of the water. Okay. Like, oh, can I lift myself up? She'll be writing about these in her Ancient Plants book to be published soon. I have a couple of videos about it. But really such incredible work in these provings and what it is we're communicating. This picture here, we went there. It's the oldest birth site in the world where people, I think it was like, I don't know how long ago, I can't remember, were birthing into this water. So to be present in those places is really an honor. We went to Komodo Island, and because it was Year of the Dragon, I said, how come we don't have a remedy of Komodo dragon? And Kate Birch, who is a US-based homeopath, she really took this one on. The provers of this group include myself, Lizzie, Sarah, Kate, Pam Brown, who I think just came on to the group, and Paul Anderson Theriault. And this proving took close to 2 years. The energy of the Komodo dragon was so reptilian and so heavy and so dense that particularly Paul and other members of the group felt like it was necessary to do this process up to C36. I think I'm correct with that, Pam, that we went up to C36, which means 36 levels, 36 hours, 36 sessions of going deep with this remedy. And we took it from this raw, gnarly. These symptoms that I list here were just my particular written up symptoms that I had notes on, but it's all put into this book that Kate wrote about this proving, which was incredibly powerful, of the transformation of the reptilian nature that's so cold and ruthless to a very refined, awakened state. Yeah, that was intense and powerful. I have a short little video on Komodo. We went to the Komodo Islands. It was an adventure, really, to get this one. And I just want to touch on the case that inspired why Oleum Crudum with Roland. So I have been organizing triturations and been a part of them. And I was speaking with Roland, and I had a case open on my computer where I was going to teach it for eye pathology. I was teaching a class on eye pathologies. And for some reason, Roland said, mentioned crude oil, that there hasn't been a proving on crude oil. And I said, I have a case open on my computer right now where I want to give crude oil, but I wasn't able to because we didn't have the remedy. And then days later, the war with Iran broke out. Okay, so I said to Roland, I think we started talking about crude oil because this war with Iran was in the field and that we really need to do this proving. We really need it. And I can't emphasize this more. I truly believe we're doing a deep work on ourselves, on the collective, on the field of oil, and hopefully for the planet as well. But I don't want to have the hubris to say that is what will happen, but I feel that it's a calling. It's a heart-centered calling. So in this case, it was a case of a woman who had cataracts occurring in her eyes. Her eyes were always bloodshot. She was born with blood in her eyes, and she had multiple surgeries on her eyes. Her family had a history of very close connection to the military. Her husband had been in the Iraq War. And she always dreamed of that she was in the military and doing something dangerous. A lot of alcoholism in the family. I had a dream of her before my appointment with her where a bomb blew up in her face. And the sensation in this proving was feeling like I was on fire. We were in an apocalyptic situation. There was fire coming. There was this red eye that she kept seeing, which is her red eye. I gave other remedies. I gave ruby and calipicracum, which helped her a lot. They were very healing. But in a follow-up, she gave this sensation. She said, I see a pool of black in my stomach, thick black liquid in my stomach, stagnant sludge, sticky and stuck. I keep it contained. I'll have more control over it. If the fire wasn't there, it would travel through my body and suffocate me, covering my lungs. It is crude oil, unrefined oil. We are duped. It is not ours. We are suppressed. It's covering our vitality. It's covering the light, the frequency, the connection, wherever it is. I am not whole. It's subtle. It's not destroying. It's invading. It's slowly erasing. It's sneaky. It's a thick shadow that doesn't want to be seen. It can keep doing what it is doing. I always thought fire was bad, but the fire keeps the bad out. It keeps this at bay. I give the black energy eyes and I look into its eyes, but it turns away. It does not want to be looked at. I try to shake it and poke holes through it, like glass losing its cohesiveness, it becomes a clump and it needs a sound to break it up. So in sensation, she went into crude oil, and I thought, what a dark and heavy substance. And intuitively, I didn't connect to petroleum being the remedy. It didn't resonate either in the materia, at the core materia medica, it didn't resonate. And I thought, someday we need to make this remedy. And it sat with me until I had this conversation with Roland and everything that's unfolded. So I got crude oil from Terry McCarter. Some of you in my school may know her. Yeah, and she has a connection. She lives in the South. So the oils from the Smackover Formation, which connects Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. Acknowledging that Texas is the foundation of the oil industry started in Texas. I would think it would be the Middle East or Russia, but it actually started in the US. So these samples of crude oil are dense. They have radioactive materials, heavy metals, and it's incredibly volatile. It can combust in just the mail. It smells so strong that just opening it up, I had to put it in a glass jar right away, or it would smell up the entire room. It smells like gasoline. And to be honest, it's a proving that people are afraid of. It's so powerful, which is why I'm so amazed that this is happening, and it has to happen in multiple groups, possibly in multiple places, which is what's happening now. So this May, we did 6 provings at my house, which is very close to Mount Shasta, with Michal, as a part of Triturations for Earth. We did sword fern, which is like an ancient plant connection, sequoia, which is on the Pacific here. We did black bear, which is right out my backyard. I have lots of black bears in the forest behind me. And we did this Texas crude oil. We did sage, and we did wild honey. And the arc of those triturations formed a story, which I'll share at the end of these classes in September. An incredible arc, an incredible story that unfolded. And I'm not going to share what crude oil really was about, except for me to emphasize how deeply we need it right now. Like, what we are truly seeing on the planet is deeply entwined. Roland is absolutely spot on. Like, this is the energy that has powered our whole lives right now. We actually should be grateful for it. We like to kind of demonize it too, but I do like to say that before we found crude oil, we were killing whales in order to light our lamps in our houses. Okay. So crude oil came along and did save us from destroying the entire cetacean species. So we are doing one more trituration event in Hawaii in August. I think I might have one spot left, but for the most part, it's full, but I have some information here on it. And then we are going to be in Croatia doing this incredible alchemical journey, as Roland spoke about. And we'll be doing smaller online triturations for crude oil and this Texas crude oil here in the US with Sarah and Lizzie and some of my colleagues. So if you want to be a part of that, you can email me too. And I think that's pretty much it. My role in Croatia, when I enter into these situations, I enter with not saying this is what I'm going to do, XYZ, but saying I will enter, hold space, listen for what is meant to emerge and the mystery of what's meant to emerge. So I may do a trituration, I may do a constellation, I may do both. I may just sit and be quiet and drum the whole time. I, as a woman that enters into sacred space. It's about the listening. In holding my retreats, one retreat that Kim went to, I took my retreat schedule to the printer and it came back blank. My schedules are let's hold space for what wants to show itself. So that's I feel that my role is in Croatia is to pray, to listen, to be present, and to hold space for the unseen. And that's what triturations really, for me, have taught me to do, as well as being a homeopath. A homeopath for children who can't speak up for themselves. Can we be a homeopath for the energies of the earth that want to speak, that aren't loud enough, right? Can we hold that space? So anyways, thank you so much. Again, coming back to your heart, if you feel a calling, these opportunities are transformational. So I hope you can join us either in these continued events or live and in person.
Angelica, thank you very much. And two things. In Croatia, we are gathering, just a moment, please put once more your last slide. Yeah, in Croatia, we are gathering from 2nd to 8th of,
Okay.
I think, October. Yeah. Another thing, as Angelica mentioned here, we are continuing to arrange groups for different experience, different homeopathic and holistic experience with crude oil, and gathering information. For example, in United States, Mihaly Kir and Angelica Lemke, they already made this trituration of crude oil, and it is very deep. Roland Guenther is going to do Shameeah of Petroleum Crudum in Alberta, Canada, in the end of July. Olga Fatula is going to make a trituration in Russia with Russian crude oil. Rodger Hellmeyer already made a natural constellation with crude oil. He had sent me day before yesterday the first results, astonishing results. And I think that when we will gather all this information, where we go through these processes, we will put them together, we will not only know by our mental what is crude oil about and what is petroleum crudum, but we will be able to use this source for homeopathic remedy. And for many people who are suffering now because of overpowering, of misuse, of miscalculations, and many other things related to crude oil. Roland mentioned in his sentence heart-to-heart connections. Our summit in Croatia, we called Adria HEARTS Summit. You can read about it a little bit later, but for now, I want to remind you that the next our meeting will take place at 30th of July, and then 24th of August, and the last one will be 14th of September. The exact program you can read on website, InnoVibe website, the full program. And now, if you have some questions or comments, we have few minutes, please. Let us communicate. We are still not in a dolphin stage, but let us communicate. Roland.
I wanna just say something. Thank you so much, Roman, for holding a lot of the organizational aspects of this meeting and the beautiful intention. Thank you, Angelica. I really appreciate your also your passion and your deep devotion and doing this work. I would like to say one word about it's mainly women I think women are closer to earth, are closer to healing, and have a higher responsibility for the future of life, at least from their heart. When you look at the symbols in biology of the feminine, the masculine, the feminine is grounded. It has the cross underneath the circle. The masculine is not grounded. It has an arrow. It has visions and ideas. If we don't bring the two together, it's not going to work. We can have ideas as long as we want. They're not going to go anywhere if the soil is not prepared. And preparing the soil, this is like receiving a child. It has something to do with that. And in saying that, I really want to also honor all the pain of the women through patriarchy. I'm a medical doctor. That medicine could be taught in the cities from men at universities. Was the requisite for that was the killing of and burning of millions of women that practiced medicine in the ancient times. At least in my people, it was the women that dealt with healing. It was not the men. And still today, the healing, in a sense of transformation, is quality of earth, and each one of you is a daughter of her. So she's my queen. I serve. I'm in service too, and so thank you for the work you do. And really, you got to give a little bit space to the men to catch up with their own healing. Thanks.
Roland, something optimistic. I want to show you this. Maybe this is the start of the change. If you see for facilitators of the summer school and the summit, we have 3 men there, 1 woman. Something is starting here. So Roland Guenther, Angelica, Lemke, Andreas Björndal, and myself, we will be waiting for you for the next meeting, 30th of July. And if you have some questions, we will be communicating through social media. Angelica, please send these videos. They are in big interest. I'm sure we can share. And thank you very much for coming. Roland, Angelica, thank you for being here. And see you next time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's one question from Christine. Are we inviting evil into these spaces? I suppose that, that's a kind of a concept that I think different people could engage with differently. I feel like in these spaces, we're inviting what it shows up to show itself, just like we do in homeopathy. Do we do that when we work with our clients, and do we kind of point it out and say it's evil? No, it's not a judgment call. It's just a presence with what shows up. So does power show up in the energy of crude oil? Absolutely. Can power be, how can it be used? Can it be used in ways that cause tragedy? Absolutely. Can we feel that? Absolutely. So it's a process of really feeling, which carries no judgment. With our body just kind of is present with these places and isn't judging it. It's just an acknowledgement. So I guess that's my answer to that one.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
How will the U.S. Trituration be conducted? I'm going to connect with Lizzie Martinez about this, because I would really like it to be conducted in Texas in person with the group. But when you can do things online, you can also do it like most of the Komodo Dragon. We did it online. And we would meet, have Zoom meetings, like just 1 hour on Sundays, and we would kind of continue with it and process. So it's really about finding a group, and it can be a group as small as 3 people, 2 people, but really, a sizable group is good to kind of feel the substance, and just connect with me if your preference is to do this from afar and to connect in, and we'll find a way. Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Earth homeopathy work. Yay. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.